Once upon a time, there was a very, very big school called SHAWSHANK School. It wasn't a scary school, but it was a little bit strict. The walls were tall and grey, and the rules were long and serious. The head teacher, Mrs. Norton, liked things to be very orderly and quiet. The students walked in straight lines, ate their lunch without much chatter, and the playground was mostly filled with the soft sound of bouncing balls instead of happy shouts. It was a place where everything had a place, and every minute had a purpose. But it was missing a little bit of sparkle and a whole lot of fun. In this big school, there was a boy named Red. Red had been at SHAWSHANK School for a long, long time. He knew every corner of the hallways and every rule in the big rule book. He was a kind boy with a warm smile, and he was known for being able to get things. If you needed a special red crayon or an extra bouncy ball, Red was the person to ask. He was a helper, and he tried his best to make the school a little brighter for his friends, even if it was just by sharing a cookie or telling a funny joke when the teachers weren't looking. One sunny morning, a new student arrived at SHAWSHANK School. His name was Andy. Andy was a quiet boy with bright, clever eyes. He looked around at the big grey buildings and the quiet playground and felt a little bit lonely. He missed his old school, where there were colourful paintings on the walls and music playing during lunchtime. Andy carried a small bag with his books, a shiny new pencil case, and a tiny rock hammer that his grandfather had given him for his geology club. It was his favourite treasure, a little reminder of home and happy times. Andy saw Red sitting by himself under a big oak tree in the corner of the playground. Red was watching everyone, a thoughtful look on his face. Andy took a deep breath, walked over and sat down a little way away. He didn't say anything at first, just looked at the big tree. Red, being the friendly person he was, smiled. "New here?" he asked kindly. Andy nodded. "It's a big place," Red added, "but you get used to it. My name's Red." Andy smiled back, a real hopeful smile. "I'm Andy," he said. And right there under the big oak tree, a wonderful friendship began to grow. Andy and Red quickly became the best of friends. They walked together in the long, quiet hallways and shared their snacks during lunch. Red showed Andy all the secret nooks and crannies of SHAWSHANK School, like the loose floorboard where you could hide comics, and the window that had the best view of the sunset. Andy told Red all about his hobbies, especially how much he loved reading books and learning new things. He had so many ideas buzzing around in his head, like a little hive of happy bees, all about how to make the school a more cheerful place for everyone. One day, Andy noticed that the school library was a small, dusty room. The shelves were mostly empty, and the books they did have were old and a little bit torn. "Red," Andy said, his eyes sparkling with a new idea. "What if we could get more books for the library? Imagine storybooks with colorful pictures, adventure books about pirates and space explorers, and books that teach us how to build amazing things." Red thought it was a wonderful idea, but he wasn't sure how they could do it. Mrs. Norton, the head teacher, was very busy and didn't often listen to new ideas from students. But Andy was not someone who gave up easily. He believed that even the biggest problems could be solved with a good plan and a little bit of hope. He told Red, "If we want things to change, we have to be the ones to start. We can write letters. We can write to the city's main library and ask for donations. We can write one letter every week until they send us some books." Red loved Andy's courage. It was like a little light that made everything seem possible. He agreed to help, and together they found some paper and their best pencils. So every single week, Andy sat down and wrote a polite, hopeful letter. He wrote about the students at SHAWSHANK School and how much they would love to have new stories to read. He wrote about how books can take you to magical places without ever leaving your chair. Red helped him check the spelling and made sure the letters were sealed in their envelopes perfectly. It was their secret project, a small act of hope they shared. They worked as a team, one writing the words and the other helping to send them out into the world, hoping someone would listen. Weeks turned into months, and still there was no reply to their letters. Some of the other students told Andy he was wasting his time. "Mrs. Norton will never let us have a big new library," they would say with a shrug. But Andy just smiled and kept on writing. He believed in his plan. Red stood by him every step of the way, When Andy felt a little discouraged, Red would pat him on the back and say, "Don't you worry, Andy. A good idea is like a seed. It just needs a little time to grow." Their friendship was a strong shield against doubt. Then, one incredible afternoon, a huge truck pulled up to the front gate of SHAWSHANK School. Two delivery people came to Mrs. Norton's office with several giant boxes. Inside were hundreds of brand new, beautiful books. The city library had finally received Andy's letters and was so impressed by his persistence that they sent more books than anyone could have imagined. There were fairy tales, science books, joke books, and coloring books. The entire school buzzed with excitement. Even Mrs. Norton looked surprised and, for the first time, a little bit impressed. Andy and Red were overjoyed, but their work wasn't done yet. The old library was too small for all these wonderful new treasures. So Andy had another clever idea. He asked Mrs. Norton if they could use the old, forgotten storage room at the end of the hall. It was big and dusty, but it had large windows that let in lots of sunshine. With a little teamwork, they could turn it into a library of dreams. Mrs. Norton, seeing the happy faces of all the students, agreed. She saw the good that Andy's hope was bringing to her school. Everyone wanted to help. Andy and Red organized teams to clean the room, paint the walls bright, cheerful colors, and build new shelves. Kids who were good at art drew amazing murals of castles and jungles on the walls. Others helped sort the books and place them on the shelves. Red used his skills to find colorful cushions and comfy beanbags for a cozy reading corner. The room that was once dark and forgotten was slowly transforming into the most wonderful place in the entire school, all thanks to teamwork and a shared dream. The grand opening of the new library was a huge celebration. Mrs. Norton cut a big red ribbon at the door, and all the students cheered. The room was filled with sunlight, color, and the happy chatter of children exploring new worlds through books. Andy stood next to Red, and they looked at what they had accomplished together. The library was more than just a room with books. It was a symbol of hope. It showed everyone at SHAWSHANK School that if you work together and never give up, you can make wonderful things happen for everyone to enjoy. Andy's kindness didn't stop with the library. He started a homework club to help students who were struggling with their lessons. He used his cleverness to solve little problems around the school, like fixing a wobbly lunch table and organizing a fun sports day on the playground. Red was always by his side, helping to gather supplies and encouraging other students to join in. They were a perfect team. Andy had the big, bright ideas, and Red had the kind heart and the know-how to bring everyone together and make those ideas a reality. Slowly but surely, the whole feeling of SHAWSHANK School began to change. The hallways didn't seem so grey anymore because they were filled with the sound of laughter and friendship. Students started sharing more, helping each other, and coming up with their own great ideas to make the school better. They planted a garden in the schoolyard, started a music club, and even convinced Mrs. Norton to let them play happy music during lunch. The strict, quiet school was blossoming into a place of joy and creativity. In the end, Andy and Red had given their friends the greatest gift of all, the courage to hope for something better, and the knowledge that they could achieve it by working together. They showed everyone that one small act of kindness, like writing a letter, could grow into something big and beautiful. SHAWSHANK School was no longer just a place for rules and lessons. It was a happy community, a family. And it all started with two friends who dared to dream of a brighter day and decided to build it themselves, one good deed at a time.